I'm going to mute everyone, so that might make a difference actually, Lynn. So I'll mute everyone. We're going to start in sitting. So everyone who's lying down, I'm afraid we're going to start sitting. Hi, Francis. Okay, so I've muted everyone. Lynn, can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay, just ask me if you need me to speak louder. So we're just going to do a little bit in sitting to start with. You're going to come and sit with your feet in cobbler pose. So, and lean back onto your hands. And just take a moment to see how this feels. I've got my laptop on a slightly different surface today, so if you can't see me, then do press and let me know. So yeah, lean back on your hands in cobbler pose. Just take a couple of breaths here. So we are going to lie down in a minute, don't worry. We're going to start sitting. So from here, if you let one knee come on top of the other knee, that's it. And then slide this top leg back. So we come into this pinwheel position. That's it, yeah, that's it, Lynn. So we do this one quite a lot. I might not have done this one so much when I used to teach at Unit 4, but you'll soon be very familiar with it. And do a little bit of circling here. So just circling around. And you've got a couple of options. So some of you might remember that we've been doing, you can either have your arms loose and free, or we've been doing this one where you give yourself a hug and you let your head fall forwards. And you do a bit of circling, giving yourself a hug. So you can do that. So if you're giving yourself a hug, make sure you've got one arm. Let me just have a look. One arm completely on the top. That's it. Perfect. Good. And a little bit of circling. Good. And if you let your head hang, then that. And then from here, you're going to, if you are giving yourself a hug, you're going to release your arms. You're towards this leg that's going out to the side. So the knee that's going out to the side, turn towards that leg and then fold down over that. A bit like you would in child pose. Let the weight of your body leg. Good. And have a couple of breaths there. Just letting your body settle down, letting the breath come in, letting the breath. Good. Resting your elbows on the ground. Of hands back in towards you. So come, that's it, come back upright. This leg back on top of this. I haven't said lefts and rights. Open your legs out into cobbler pose once more and just see how that feels for a moment or two. So sometimes it feels a bit easier already. And then come over onto the second side of pinwheel. So let the other knee come on top, take this leg back, do a little bit of circling again. So again, if you would like to give yourself a hug, let your head fall forwards. This is an option, yeah? So this is nice if your shoulders and neck are feeling tight. If you're happier with your arms loose and free, you can do that. So a bit of circling. And then you're going to, like we did on the other side, release your arms, turn towards this knee that's going out to the side, fold your body down over that leg, and have a couple of breaths there. So all these movements are about releasing in the hip joints and also around the pelvis, so it can feel nice into the lower back. Make sure your shoulders are as relaxed as possible. So Aditi, particularly you, because I think you've probably got quite a lot of stress going on for you at the moment, and it usually comes into your shoulders. Good. And then from there, maybe just have one more cycle of breath. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. Fold it down in your pinwheel. And then walking your hands in towards you. Coming up right again. Good. And then one last time, slide this leg on top, open your legs out into cobbler pose. And let's just stay for a moment in cobbler pose. We could do a bit of rocking. So this rocking from side to side, see how that feels. You might feel that you want to rock all the way over. We won't do that just at this minute. Yeah, a little bit of rocking from side to side. And then let the legs settle and do a bit of leaning. So lean to one side. So this is your body. That's it. You can take your top arm up. That's it. So from side to side, leaning. And just be easy with your shoulders, but lengthening out through the sides of your body. Maybe just do this once more to each side. So these side lengthening. So I say once more to each side, and then I want to carry on with it, but we will let it go. So you can lean back on your hands and lengthen your legs out and give your legs a little bit of a roll. That's it. Now, I'm turning around, so I'm at the front of my mat, and we're going to do a little bit of rolling backwards. Well, I'm not going to make you, we'll come on to do all the abdominal ones later. But just from this position a few times, can you slide your hands from your feet towards your knees, looking down towards your belly? And what we're going to do from here in a moment is roll all the way back onto our backs, yeah? So you can slide your hands up towards your knees, let your feet pick up off the floor, let yourself roll down and fold your knees into your chest. So you should be hopefully on your back now with your knees folded into your chest. And then take your legs up to the ceiling and give your legs a shake out. So that's it, shake out your legs. Very nice, good. So we're going to do a few little twisty things on our backs. So when you've given your legs a shake out, bring your feet to stand on the floor. That's it, knees bent, feet standing on the floor. Take a moment to feel the contact of your footprints on the floor, the contact of your pelvis on the floor. Then start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. That's it, let your knees tilt to the right and then to the left. Very nice. Got a very good view of knees moving today, which is fantastic. Lovely. So your knees tilting to the right and to the left, and just noticing how this feels around your pelvis. So perhaps into the hip joints, particularly around the lower back and the back of the pelvis. So these places where we can get creaky very easily. So do this a couple more times. To the right, to the left, a couple more times. And then settle in the center and either keep your knees bent or lengthen your legs out. So whichever is more comfortable for you. And we're going to do a movement now for the upper body. So if you're keeping your knees bent, just make sure your knees are not joining in with this one. So you're going to take your arms up towards the ceiling and make a big circle with your arms. So you're interlinking your fingers. Imagine you're holding a beach ball on your chest. So you've got a really big round shape. So that's it then, good, yeah, round. And you're trying to keep this round shape. And that's it, Helen. What you're going to start to do is rock across your upper back. So let your weight rock more towards the back of your right shoulder and then more towards the back of your left shoulder. Let your head move with your arms, but try and keep your circle circular, yeah? And just keep rocking from side to side. So this is a really nice way to give ourselves a massage across our upper back. That's it, Rashmi, good. Keep your circle circular. So imagine you're holding this big beach ball on your chest. And as you rock from side to side, you're not letting your circle sort of go into a funny squashy shape. You're letting your head go with your arms and you're feeling this massage across your upper back. Good. If that's comfortable for you, if that's okay, do that a couple more times to each side. So what we're really doing here is releasing tension in the upper part of the spine. We're mobilizing the spine between the shoulder blades. Let your arms come to rest on the floor now. Let the arms be heavy. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then let your knees come back to rocking. So if your legs are long, bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And then come back to letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. Very nice. Good. And see how that feels. So sometimes it feels a bit easier. So when we've done those movements in the upper body, this movement lower down feels easier. That's nice. And then pause in the middle for a moment and take your feet wider. Take your feet so they're as wide as your mat. This is the narrow edge of your mat, not the long length. Good. And then come back to tilting your knees with your feet wide and see how that feels. So this is going to start to move you a bit more into the hip joints. That's it. So see how it feels to take both knees to the right and both knees to the left. Good. If it's comfortable for you, so there's two options here. You could stay rocking from side to side. If it's comfortable, to let your knees come all the way down towards the floor on one side. Is that comfortable? If you've got a cushion to hand and you want to slide it under one of your knees, you could do. Yeah, that's a good idea then. Good. And then let your shoulders settle and just let your head roll from side to side a couple of times. And then end up, if you let your head roll from side to side a couple of times, end up with your head rolled in the opposite direction to your knees. And have a couple of breaths there. Obviously, if it's not comfortable, come out. Don't feel you have to stay there. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. Come back to the center with your knees. Now, you could do a little bit more rocking and then take your knees down to the other side, or you could go straight there. Remember, your feet are wide, so your feet are as wide as that's it, as the narrow edge of the mat. Good. So see how it feels to rock the knees down to the other side. Use a cushion to support them if that's helpful. Let your shoulders settle. Let your head roll to the right and to the left. And then settle the head so it's rolled in the opposite direction to your legs. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And just notice what you feel. And of course, if it starts to feel actually this is getting more uncomfortable, that would be a sign that you should come out. But hopefully, as we have a couple of breaths in this twist, we can start to feel things releasing through the sides of the body, around the pelvis and the hip joints. And whenever you've had enough, you're going to roll back to the center and you're going to fold both knees into your chest. That's it. And then hold around the top of your knees. You can do whatever you like here. You could do a bit of rocking from side to side. You could do a bit of circling around the back of your pelvis. Yes, that's nice. Then you could circle into your hips. Just whatever feels good at this point. And the other thing I was going to suggest here was, again, to take your, as I should probably guess, take your legs up to the ceiling and give them a shake out. That's it. It's just very nice. Yeah, and you can add your arms in like some of you are doing if you want to have your arms and legs up to the ceiling with a shake out. That's nice. And then we're going to do one more movement on our backs with our feet on the floor. So bend the knees, stand the feet on the floor. And give yourself a hug by crossing your arms over your chest. So like you were doing in pinwheel earlier. Welcome back, Jan. So you've got your arms crossed over your chest. You've got your knees bent. Now start to let your knees and your elbows and your head all tilt to one way. So let the knees, the elbows and the head rock to the right and then to the left. So you're rolling across the back of your body. Yes, you might want to go too far. Otherwise, it's harder to rock back. That's it. That's it, Lynn. I think have a bit of space between the feet. Good. And don't feel you have to rock too far. So what you're trying to feel here is that you're rocking side to side across the back of your body. So Jan, we're hugging ourselves and we're rocking from side to side across the back of the body. And this is another way to give ourselves a bit of a massage. You're right there, Jan. We're doing this one. And from rocking side to side, I'd like you to then rock all the way over onto one side and have a few breaths on your side. And you don't have to be hugging yourself at this point, just be comfortable. Have a few breaths on your side. And from there, we're going to be coming over onto hands and knees. So when you're ready, you can make your way over onto hands and knees. So settling yourself down on hands and knees, nice big handprints on the floor, hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips. You can do a little bit of circling here, circling the shoulders over the hands to help you settle. And then we're going to do some cat movements here. So once you've settled, you're going to see how it feels to do your cat movements. So rounding your back to the ceiling, dipping your spine down to the floor. So just, go easy with these. Use these movements to help mobilize your spine, to maybe release tension around the lower back, the upper back. So just really seeing how it feels. How does it feel to round your back? You let your head hang. How does it feel to dip your spine down? Let your gaze come forward. So I'm just going to have a little look at you. So a few more, very nice. A few more cycles of cat. Beautiful. Good. Very nice. And then from here, whenever you're ready, you might want to do a little bit more cat, but whenever you're ready, you're going to come into dog pose by tucking your toes under, locking your hips over your heels, picking your knees up off the floor, and just see how it feels to come into dog. So we're going to be doing a few movements on hands and knees and then coming into dog and alternating this. So if this first dog pose feels a bit creaky, don't worry. So come into your dog. Have a few breaths. Bend your knees as much as you like. This first dog is very much just about sort of testing the water. How do we feel today? It takes a few dog poses you to feel a bit better. So from this dog, you can fold down into child pose for a couple of breaths. And just, settle in, child. Let your breath come in, let your breath leave you. And from child pose, we're going to come into kneeling. Now, Helen, if you need something under the tops of your ankles, like a cushion, I'm hoping, I know kneeling is not the easiest thing for everyone. Come into kneeling just for a minute. We're going to come in and out of this. If you need, so it might be that you need to put a cushion under the tops of your ankles or between your bottom and your heel. So what I'd like you to do in kneeling is your cat movements. So on your pelvis, can you let your back round backwards? And can you let your spine arch forwards? So just those same movements we were doing on hands and knees, but in kneeling. So a little bit of cat, and just see how they feel here. Okay, we won't be here too long because I do know that kneeling is challenging for some of us. So just maybe once, twice more in each direction. And then we're going to come back onto hands and knees. So from here, come back to hands and knees. Lengthen each leg out behind you. So that will feel nice after kneeling. Just let each leg be long. Tuck your toes under. That's it. Good. And then settle yourself on hands and knees. And we're going to do some side bending, so what I often call tail wagging movements. So here, you're going to imagine you have a tail, like a dog's tail or a fish's tail. And you're going to try and wag your tail from side to side. Or if you're a fish, you're swishing your tail from side to side. And so as we do this movement, we're just trying to, what do we feel through the sides of the body? As our tail wags one way, that side of the body shortens, the other side lengthens. We can do the same movement using our lower legs. So you could swing, look at me if you're not sure, little fishes I call this one, swing your lower legs from side to side. Let them take the pelvis with them. Yeah, we can have a look at you. Yes, so swing the legs. If you're going slowly, you can look at the legs. If you're going fast, I would suggest not looking at the legs. Yeah, very nice. And then from here, let's go back into dog pose again. So settle your hands on the floor, tuck your toes under, let a breath come in as you exhale, rock your hips back, and then up as you pick your knees up off the floor. And see how this second dog pose feels. And again, it's entirely up to you how much time you spend in dog pose. Bending the knees as much as you like. Addie T, think about being wide across the back of your shoulders. Yes, yes, yes. Just really try and find some space there. Good, good. And again, yes, fold down into child pose from that dog whenever you're ready. Just settle in child. That's a really good place to let the shoulders undo. Good. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. We're going to come back from child or dog into kneeling again. I'm just going to, again, we won't be here long. Have your cushions if you need to. I'm going to sit face on because what I want us to do this time in kneeling is these side lengthening movements again. So a bit like we were doing in cobbler pose. And as you do these movements, your weight comes into the side of the pelvis where you're reaching up. So the long side of the pelvis, your weight also drops down here. So you might feel on this side that where you're not reaching up, that your sit bone comes up a little bit, and that's fine. But just sort of see how these movements feel. Maybe once more on each side. Very nice. And then once again, come back onto hands and knees and lengthen each leg out behind you. So settle your shoulders over your hands, come onto hands and knees, lengthen a leg out, tuck your toes under. It's a bit like half a plank pose. We'll be doing a bit more plank shortly. Be thrilled to hear. And lengthening the other leg out. And then on hands and knees, we're going to now do a twisting movement. So we're going to do this one, this thread the needle one, it's sometimes called, where you slide one arm underneath. And then if your neck is fine with the side of your head on the floor, this top arm can come up or to rest on the back of your pelvis, okay? So, yes, how are we with that one? That's nice, good. Good, so you just need to make sure that the side of your neck feels okay for you to take that top arm off the floor, because the neck is coming into a bit of a side bend here. But the rest of this is it's really quite a nice twist for the rib cage. So have a few breaths on one side. Very nice. And you can slowly make your way out, and you can try the same thing on. I've been thinking a lot, I suppose, in recent days about what is, I would think, is a helpful twist. Where can we really find this movement through our ribs? And I think this is a really helpful one. So in this movement, we can really perhaps start to feel that we're releasing tension from our rib cage. Good, and when you've done that on both sides, I always find it a bit baffling for my brain. So then coming into dog pose again to have a bit of a lengthen out is probably really helpful. So hands and knees, tucking your toes under, exhaling, rocking your hips up and back into dog pose, seeing how this dog feels. So exhaling, remember your knees can be as bent as you like. Resting down through your arms, yes, and of course folding into child whenever you want to. Good. So we're going to do one more thing in kneeling, one last thing. So if you don't like kneeling, then this is the last time in kneeling. And then we're going to come through a dog pose into standing. So in this kneeling, we're going to do a kneeling twist. So I think if I come side on. So actually what's quite helpful is just to make sure that you're not doing your cat movement. So if we're going to twist, we want our spine to be in neutral. So you could do these little cat movements to find the neutral place. And then we're turning one way. So the front hand comes to rest on the thigh you're turning towards, and your back hand comes, either the fingertips may touch the floor or the hand comes to the back of your pelvis. So I always think this kneeling twist is a really helpful one for finding movement in the rib cage. Obviously, if kneeling is hard for you, then it is a bit more challenging. Have a couple of breaths here and then we'll turn the other way. That's it. Try and keep the shoulders nice and heavy as you do this. I will, yes, turn back to the centre so I can still see you. So that's it, turning towards the other leg. Try and let the arms be as relaxed as possible in this one. So the front arm, that hand is resting on the thigh you're turning towards. Your elbow is heavy. The back fingertips rest on the floor or the hand on the back of your pelvis. Good. Have another couple of breaths. And then in your own time, you're going to untwist. You're going to come onto hands and knees. You could lengthen each leg out behind you. And then we're going to come through dog pose and a forward bend up into standing. If dog pose is starting to feel a bit better, why don't you have a few breaths there? So you don't need to rush on into your forward bend unless you want to spend your time there. So nice big handprints on the floor, tucking your toes under, exhale, rocking your hips back, picking your knees up off the floor. See how this dog pose feels. Give yourself time to settle into it. Bending your knees, one knee, both knees. Breathing, resting through your arms. Letting your head hang. And whenever you're ready, you're going to then, from dog, walk your hands in towards your feet. So all of your weight's in your feet. You come into your forward bend. You give yourselves a breath or two here. Now, if your lower back needs some support, bend your knees, rest your elbows on your thighs. Let a breath come in. And then as you exhale, you can roll up into standing or walk your hands up your thighs, again, if you need that support for your back. Now, in standing, we're just going to settle, and we're going to settle with a mudra, and then we're going to do some movement. So we're going to do this mudra, Hakini mudra, which we've all practiced quite a bit recently. So Lynn, it's this one here where we're touching the pads, that's it, pads of the fingers and the thumbs. Yeah, and we're going to just going to see how it feels to come into standing and be quiet. So perhaps before you bring your hands into your mudra, you need to have a look at your feet and just settle into your feet. Feet hip width apart and parallel. And then you can bring your hands into this mudra. So touching the pads of the fingers and thumbs together. And bringing your hands in front of your body. So there's probably different options as to where you could hold your hands, but in this one, I like to have my hands in front of my chest. And let the shoulders drop. So we're trying to let everything soften around this hand position. If it would be helpful for you, you could let yourself sway a little bit from side to side. You don't have to keep sort of rigidly still. But you might also find from swaying a little bit that you would like to settle. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the flow of your breath through your body. Feel the contact of the fingers and the thumbs. Okay, I'll get it for you. Sorry everyone, so just release that and have a little shake out. I've got to give the extension lead to Gemma. So what I wanted us to do is to come into doing a little bit of sun salute. We're going to do the version we were doing a couple of weeks ago where we take out the lunges and then we add them in. So I'll go quite slowly. If anyone is struggling, just sort of let me know. But we're not going to be sort of pounding through it. So you're going to come to start at the front of your mat. So you're at the front of your mat, your feet are hip width apart. You're bringing your hands into prayer pose. That's it. So we're going to let a breath come in. And as you exhale, you'll turn around. But as you exhale, you're going to take your arms down and then up. And drop your shoulders down away from your ears. And then from here, as you exhale again, you're going to curl down into a forward bend. Again, if you want your elbows on your thighs, you can do. And from your forward bend your knees enough so that your fingertips come onto the ground. Now we're going to step the right foot back, but we're just going to step it back a little bit. So it's like a mini lunge. You're not trying to step all the way back into a lunge. Yeah? And then from here, you're going to step the left foot back. So you come onto hands and knees. So that's where I'd like you to be, on hands and knees. And from here, we're going to have the joy of going into plank pose. You're going to lengthen one leg back behind you. You're going to add the other leg in and see how it feels to be in plank pose. You need to have your shoulders over your wrists. Have a breath or two here. And then from here, let your knees come down to the floor. Keep your toes tucked under, keep your hands where they are and fold your hips back into this sort of long child pose with your toes tucked. Let a breath come in here. Now, we're going to travel forwards into face up dog, rounding our back. And so, Lynn, if you're not quite sure what I'm talking about, do have a look. I think the rest of you, we've done this enough. You'll know. So from here, as you exhale, you're rounding your back to the ceiling in cat, and you're traveling forwards, bringing your shoulders over your hands, letting your pelvis go, untucking your toes. And then from here, we come onto hands and knees, if you like. We're moving into dog pose. So tucking the toes under, up into dog. If your dog pose feels a bit long, walk your feet in a bit. Have a couple of breaths in dog pose. Good. And then from dog pose, you're going to come back onto hands and knees. So we're back on hands and knees. We're going to step this right foot forwards between the hands. Again, it's going to be like a mini lunge. So bring your right foot forwards between your hands. And then from here, you're going to step your left foot forwards. So we come into a forward bend. So left foot forwards, into your forward bend, letting your head go. Now from here, touch the backs of your hands together. We're going to roll up into standing. The hands touch, the backs of the hands touch. We bring our hands straight up the front of the body, straight up to the ceiling. Breathe in. And as you exhale, take your arms out in a big circle. That's it, all the way back to where we started. Was that okay, everyone? Were we okay? Yes, good. We're going to do exactly the same thing on side two. And then when we come on to, again, back to side one, we'll do a little bit differently with the lunges. So at the front of your mat, hands in prayer pose, feet settled down, letting a breath come in, Feet hip width apart. Brush me, I can't see your feet. Look, oh no, they aren't. Maybe yes, you've got narrow hips. That's absolutely fine. Feet hip width apart. Let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Breathe in, drop your shoulders, and then rounding down into your forward bend. In your forward bend, fingertips on the floor. As you exhale, step the left foot back, just into this sort of mini lunge. So you're not stepping the foot all the way back. Good. And then you're coming down onto hands and knees. So if you step the right foot back too. So from hands and knees, we're going to come on into plank pose. So lengthening one leg back. Keep your shoulders over your wrists, lengthen the other leg back. Have a couple of breaths in your plank pose. Look down slightly at the floor, slightly ahead of your fingertips. Then let your knees come to the floor. Keep your hands where they are. Keep your toes tucked under. Fold your hips back into a long child pose, but keep your elbows off the floor. You could touch your forehead to the floor perhaps. Let your breath come in. As you exhale, you're going to round your back and travel forwards into face-up dog. So rounding your back, looking at your pelvis, traveling forwards until your shoulders are over your wrists. You can let your pelvis go. So the pelvis is hanging, it's not touching the floor. The arms are straight. And then into dog pose. So you could go through hands and knees, tucking your toes under, up into dog. And if it feels a bit of a long dog, then you walk your feet in. Have a couple of breaths there. And then from dog pose, it's back onto hands and knees. Step your left foot forwards between your hands. So again, we're in this mini lunge. And then step your right foot forwards between your hands into your forward bend. Let your head go. And again, roll up into standing, touching the backs of your hands together, taking your arms straight up to the ceiling. Breathing in, taking your arms wide and your arms come in a big circle all the way out to the sides. Good. So we'll carry on and we're going to slightly change this. So this, when we go down, we're going to go all the way back into a lunge. So we're going to add in the first lunges. So at the front of your mat, hands in prayer pose. I just want to look because I don't seem to have, no, I am on full screen. I don't know anyway, sorry. I thought something funny was going on with Zoom. So, Jen, can you shut those doors, please? So hands in prayer pose at the front of your mat. Let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Let your shoulders drop down away from your ears. And then exhaling, rolling down into your forward bend. So bring your fingertips onto the floor, bending your knees as you need to. So this time we're going to step the right foot back and you are going to step it back all the way into a lunge. And you might have to shuffle it back a little bit if it doesn't go as far back as you want it to. So we want to feel now we've got this stretch through the front of the back leg thigh. And then one of the challenges of sun salute is that from here, from lunge, we try to move into plank pose. So you could come onto hands and knees, or you could try, could you move from lunge into plank? How would you do that? Try to plant the hand down, step the other foot back. It might be you move through dog pose briefly to come into your plank, and that's fine. And then again, from your plank pose, let your knees come down to the floor. Fold your hips back over your heels. So you're in this long child, your toes are tucked under, your forehead could touch the floor, but your elbows stay off the floor. Let a breath come in. And then rounding your back, traveling forwards into face-up dog again. So looking at your pelvis. Once your shoulders are over your hands, that's it. We let the pelvis hang, we untuck the toes. And then again from here, we move into dog pose. It could be through hands and knees, or you could go straight into dog. Tucking the toes under, into dog pose. And again, step your feet in a little bit. So if the dog pose feels a bit long. And then from this dog pose, we're going to come back onto hands and knees again. So we're not yet adding in that lovely lunge where we step forwards from dog. So from hands and knees, bring your right foot forwards into a little, in fact, what you could do from here is you would come into a mini lunge, but if you then walk your back leg away a little bit more, so you come into, I suppose, a proper lunge here. And then from this lunge, we're going to step that back leg forwards into our forward bend. So we push off a little bit with the back foot. Our weight comes into our front foot. We let our head hang. Let a breath come in as you exhale, rolling up into standing, taking your arms up towards the ceiling. Breathing in, dropping your shoulders, exhaling, taking your arms down. Very nice. So we'll do the same thing again, stepping back with the left foot. So hands in prayer pose in front of you. Letting a breath come in as you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Let your breath come in and then rolling down into your forward bend, letting your head go. And from your forward bend, you're going to step your left foot back into lunge. All the way back, arriving in lunge, letting the back knee come down onto the floor. That's it, good. Now, from this lunge, you've got to think about how are you going to make your way into plank pose, and you do it the way that's most comfortable for you. It could be straight into plank, it could be through hands and knees. And I'm watching you on this time, so I don't know how to put you off. Have a couple of breaths in plank, long and straight, that's it. And then let your knees come to the floor. Keep your toes tucked, keep your hands where they are, fold back, good. And then from that folded back position, let a breath come in. As you exhale, round your back to the ceiling and travel forwards into face up dog. Very nice, that's it. Let the pelvis go, good. Let the shoulders come down, lovely. And from face up dog on into dog pose, either through hands and knees if you like. Good. And walking the feet in, again, yes, if it feels too long, walk the feet in. Beautiful, or enjoy that long dog pose, looks very nice. And then from dog pose, the left foot is going to step. No, you're going to come down onto hands and knees, sorry. Down onto hands and knees, and then step your left foot forwards. And then from this position, you can then walk your right leg back a little bit to find that full stretch of lunge, if you like. Let your pelvis go. So from here, we're going to come into our forward bend. So we push off a little bit with the back foot. We've got our fingertips on the floor. Our weight comes into our front foot. We come into our forward bend. We let our head go. Letting a breath come in. Touch the backs of the hands together. Sink into the heels. Roll up into standing. Let a breath come in. Take your arms out in this big circle. Very nice. So we're going to do one more side of sun salute, and this time we're going to add in that stepping from dog into a lunge that I'm sure you all love, as well as our lunge at the beginning. So hands in prayer pose, let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Drop your shoulders, exhaling down into a forward bend. Let a breath come in, fingertips on the floor, step your right foot all the way back into lunge. Arrive in that lunge, let the back knee come onto the floor. So we're fully in lunge for a moment. And then from there we go on into plank pose, however suits us best. And we have a breath or two in plank. From plank pose, let your knees come down, keep your hands where they are, keep your toes tucked. The forehead can touch the floor, the elbows stay up. Let the breath come in. As you exhale, round your back to the ceiling, travel forwards into face up dog. Untucking the toes, letting the pelvis hang, sinking down into your arms. And then on into dog pose, through hands and knees or straight from face up dog. Arriving in dog pose, stepping the feet in if you like. Make it a bit shorter. So we're going to have that fun here. We are from dog pose. Now I'm going to step the right foot forwards into lunge. You may need to come up onto your fingertips in one hand or both. So what's it like? to step your right foot forwards between your hands. It may not get there, yeah? So you might have to shuffle that foot forwards a bit. So you end up in your lunge with your back knee on the ground. That's it. And the front foot, yeah, between the hands. Good. And then on into your forward bend. So exhaling, pushing off with that back foot, weight into the front foot. Let your head go. Let the breath come in, backs of the hands touch, rolling up into standing. Breathing in, take your arms wide. Exhaling. Very well done, everyone. We have one last cycle of sun salute to do with the left foot stepping back. So just gather yourselves for a moment at the front of your mat. Feel your footprints on the floor. Feel the flow of your breath. And then as you exhale, take the arms down and then up. Let the breath come in and then curling down, rounding down into your forward bend. I'm going to watch a bit this time, so your left foot is going to step back into lunge. All the way back if possible. Let the back knee come down on the ground. Let your back knee come down on the ground in your lunge. That's it, Rashmi. So you arrive in your lunge and then on into plank pose, however works for you. That's it, very nice. And try to feel you're in that long straight line of plank. You're really sending your heels back away from you, fantastic. Then let the knees come down to the floor. Keep the hands where they are, keep the toes tucked, fold your hips back over your heels. Let a breath come in. And then as you exhale, rounding your back, traveling forwards into face up dog. Beautiful, really lovely, good. Aditi just thinks shoulders, 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 good. And then on through hands and knees or straight into dog pose, tucking your toes under when you're ready. Enjoy dog pose. This is our last dog pose. I shouldn't say that because it might not be. So, in fact, I don't think it is. Yeah, enjoy your dog pose. Walk your feet in a little bit if you like. And then it's going to be your left. How can you step your left foot all the way forwards into a lunge with your hand between your feet? Very good. Let the back knee come down onto the ground. Good. And then from here, how to step forwards into your forward bend. So pushing off a bit with that back foot, sinking your weight into your front foot. In your forward bend, let your head hang, and then touching the backs of your hands together, rolling up into standing, all the way up, letting the breath come in. And then as you exhale, that's it, take the arms out and around. Good, all the way back into prayer pose. Very nice, everyone. Have a little shake out. So we're going to do just a few things in standing. First, we're going to come and settle once again with Hakimi. So this same mudra again that we started off with. We're just going to settle in standing. And we'll take it into a balance in a moment. But I just want you to come back to this, just settling in standing. So you could have your hands in the mudra and be looking down at your feet. And then bringing your gaze forwards. Dropping your shoulders, letting your elbows be heavy, settling down again if it's helpful to sway a little bit, to let your weight rock side to side. So, yeah, settling in standing, which should maybe be the easiest thing in the world. Sometimes to settle, maybe settling isn't always that easy. In the center, when you're shoulders sort of, settling down in the center, having a couple more breaths with your hands in this mudra. You could close your eyes, keep feeling the contact of your fingertips and thumbs. Let the breath flow in, let the breath flow out. You can let your arms release, you can give your legs a little bit of a shake out. And I'm just going to show you now, because we're going to do, well, there's two balances put together. So I think if I show you, I'm just thinking which way, we'll have to turn in the middle. So just watch for a minute. We're going to go into this balance, which we're all quite familiar with. So we take our arm up, we shift our weight onto the same arm as leg, we come to here. So all went, yeah, so very simple. And then from here, you're going to release the back leg, bring your hands into prayer pose and see how it feels to reach back through that back leg. I hope you can see, yeah. So where we come to the second bit, we've released the back leg, we're tipping forwards, we're coming to here. So yeah, so let's just see how it is to put those two balances together. And don't worry if you do have a bit of a wobble, that's always the challenge when we're moving a bit more as well as balancing. So start by taking your right arm up, letting your left arm hang. And what we're doing here is we're shifting our weight into our right leg. Yeah, so the left leg starts to feel light. We can let the left heel come up. And then from there, we let that left leg sneak up and we catch the left foot or we catch the trouser leg. Good. And we have a breath or two here, let the shoulder drop. And then before we think about moving on, just come to here where your hand is at your breastbone. So we're settling here. So in a moment, we're going to release the back leg. We're going to bring the hands into prayer pose at the breastbone. And we're going to see how it feels to tilt forwards as we reach back with our back heel. Well done, good. Very nice, lovely. It's good, it's quite nice if the thumb is touching the breastbone, good. Good, well done. That's lovely. So it might be that we capture that balance for a moment, or some of you definitely for several moments. Lovely. Good. Good, come out and have a little shake out. And let's try the other side, that was amazing, well done. So settle back down, have a moment before we come on to side two, where you maybe close your eyes and just really feel yourself in standing. So perhaps sometimes that's what we need to really feel ourselves in standing, is to stand on one foot. And then opening your eyes, please, starting to take the left arm up. So the right arm is heavy and floppy. We're reaching up through the left arm. We're shifting our weight into our left leg and foot. So the right heel can come off the floor. Yeah? And then can we sneak the right leg up completely? So we're standing on our left foot. Our left arm is up. We can then bring our left hand onto our breastbone. So gather into our centre for a breath or two. And then whenever you're ready from here, you're going to release your back leg. You're going to bring your hands into prayer pose. You're going to start reaching back with your back heel as that back leg straightens out. And you tip forwards. And just see what happens on this side. Very nice. Good. It's quite good to have the hands on the breastbone, Rashmi. That's it. So the thumb's actually touching. Yeah, but I think for me that helps me feel steadier. Good. Very, very nice. Amazing. Oh, lovely. So lovely to see you all balancing. You're all in your rooms in this beautiful light we have today. We're going to do one more balance. This will have 2 feet on the floor, you'll be pleased to hear. Let's just, before we do it, do this sort of easy swinging twist. Let your feet move, let your pelvis move. That's it. Good. And then let that go. So what we're going to be doing now, we're going to add in the mudra in a moment. It's just this one where we come onto the balls of our feet, yeah? So do that a few times and see how it feels. How does it feel to bring your weight forwards into the balls of your feet and balance in that place? And yeah, And then what we're going to do, maybe if I show you, I'll show you just kneeling. We're going to bring when we're balancing, we're going to bring our arms up. We're going to touch our hands in this mudra over our head. And then we're going to bring it in front of our chest, all while we're balancing on the balls of our feet. Some of you know this one. We do this one quite a lot. And I just find it quite sort of steadying, quietening. So bring your weight forwards onto the balls of your feet. See if you can balance there. Really good for the ankles, the arches, and then let the arms come up. And so very interesting movement where we're trying to touch the fingertips and the thumbs together. We can't see the hands. Let the shoulders soften and drop, and then bringing your hands down in front of your chest. Elbows out to the sides, letting the shoulders drop, having a few breaths here. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. Very nice. Amazing. That's it. Really well done. Come down, have a little shake out. Now, we're going to come down through a forward bend and a squat. So it might be for a squat. You might not have a yoga wedge, but if you have a cushion or a book, it might be, so we're going to come through a forward bend, we're going to bend our knees. It might be you would like something under your heels so that you can stay in your squat. So cushion, book, roll up the back of your mat. So yes, so it's just because it's really nice for our lower back to be in a squat. So forward bend, bending the knees forwards over the feet, ending up in a squat. If your heels come up, you don't have to have something under your heels, but it can make it more comfortable to stay here. And that feeling that we're letting the pelvis hang. So really nice to lengthen out the lower back. And in a moment, we're going to be doing something that, something slightly different. So I'm going to show you, we're going to do it together. I think we're going to do it twice and we'll do it together. So from your squat, we will be coming back into a squat in a moment. So if you keep your books or your block to hand. So right now, if you move your book or your wedge or whatever you've got your cushion out of the way, and from here, we're going to roll forwards onto our knees and come into this up kneeling, yeah? And I just want you to see how it feels. Yeah, you could try. What feels better? Is it better to have your toes tucked under or your feet flat? We're going to do a little bit of both, but you could maybe try. See, my knees are a bit creaky in this place, so my knees are better with my feet flat. And then first of all here, I'd like you just to do a little bit of a twist. So turn in each direction. That's it. And we're trying to keep the pelvis where it is. I don't think the pelvis is probably likely to turn much here anyway. Now this position can be a little bit challenging for the lower back. So I want you to really just be clear that your lower back is comfortable. Now the next thing you're going to try here, and it might just be that you go up, is this movement where we take the arms up and you might bring your gaze up a little bit. So this is Kapotasana, if we go back a little bit, yeah? But again, don't push it in the lower back and don't take your head up too high. Okay. Come down from that. And now what I'd like you to try, one last thing before we come out, is tuck your toes under. And as you turn, come back to the turning. Can you touch? What would it be like to touch your toes on either side? So, Siobhan, this is where long arms are a great advantage. So you may not be able to touch your toes. You don't have to look at your feet, but just, what's it like to go from side to side and touch your heels? Okay, that's all we're going to do. We're going to come back to this in a moment. First of all, untuck your toes. Come down onto hands and knees. If, like me, you're a bit too far forwards on your mat, because we're going to come to dog pose. This is the last dog pose. Dog pose, forward bend, back into squat, and then we're going to do those things in that up kneeling again. So come into dog pose. See how it feels to be in your dog, be enjoying that. So if you like your dog pose, you can stay there. If you want to move on, we're coming from dog into a forward bend. If you like your forward bend, you can stay there. So dog pose, forward bend, and down into a squat again. So again, you sort of choose, yeah, where you'd like to be. And it would probably be nice to, yes, have something under your heels in your squat if your heels come up, so that we can let the pelvis drop. Now, while you're in your squat, maybe I will just show you what you could do. So we're going to do these same movements again. Come into here. Now, some of you may want to this time try going into camel pose, which would be possibly with the toes tucked under. Yeah, try to find your heels. Or possibly with the feet flat. Yeah. Trying to find your heels. You've just got to be a bit attentive to your lower back. So you may not want to do that at all. Rashmi, you will leap into it, I'm sure. So from your squat, come back into this up kneeling. Come to a little bit of, you can come to a bit of twisting. So all of these movements are very good preparations. A bit of turning one way, turning the other. This one, Kapotasana, when you bring your arms up, if you feel that your lower back doesn't like it, it could be quite nice to have one hand on the back of your pelvis, really encouraging your tailbone to drop. Yeah, so that's a possibility. But you might find you like this one better. So the arms coming up, the gaze coming up. And so Rashmi, I'm not saying do that, well actually I won't say this because you might try and do it now. Yeah, because Kapotasana goes further than that, but we'll save that for another day. And then if you feel that you want to, so it could just be coming back to touching one heel, touching the other. If you want to try your camel pose, it's easier if your toes are tucked under because it's less far to go. Yeah, but some of you equally might be happy but going back with your feet. That's it, with your feet flat on the ground. Good. That's nice. Yeah. Yes, exactly, Francis. Yes. If you've had enough of that, come. That's good, Marie. Lovely. Lovely. Good. Yes. And when you've had enough of that one, what did I have from there? Yeah, it might be just that you want to have, you might want to do another dog pose. You might like to come onto hands and knees, round your back to the ceiling, and just come back into child pose for a few quiet breaths. And then we are going to be doing something to move the back the other way. Good. But first of all, settle in child pose, have a few quiet breaths. So let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Let your body rest onto the ground. So we're going to, in a moment, be making our way down to lying down through a bit of rolling back and through some of our lovely abdominal exercises, our boat pose. So if you come and sit at the front of your mat like this, and so actually it's quite nice after those camel poses to just be in this position where, so we've got our knees bent and we're leaning forwards into a bit of a forward bend here, and just really letting our lower back open out and feel that our back is in this curved shape. And I've sort of got my elbows, my knees in my elbows, but you could have your arms down by your sides. If you like this one, you could also have bringing your knees in between. No, that's not right. Bringing your arms in between your knees. That's it, Rashmi. You might need to do that. You might need your feet a little bit wider apart. So that's another possibility, but we're not staying there really very long today. What we are going to be doing is starting this rolling back. So first of all, hands on your feet. You're going to be sliding your hands to your knees, looking down at your belly, leaning back a bit. So what's important here is to keep looking down as you go back. So keep looking down at your belly, leaning back. You can look forwards as you come back up again. But at this point, I think you could probably just stay looking back. Yes, and then we are from here, some of you are keen, we are from here going to be letting the feet pick up, trying to balance on our back, middle of our back. And at this point, you do want to look forwards to come forwards. So we're rolling back. Yes, the feet seem to have gone very, very high there, Ashmi. I'm not quite sure what's happening. So you're trying to balance on the middle of your back. If you lengthen your legs out, we're trying to have your feet, your heels and your shoulders at the same height. Yeah, so this is a little bit of a balance. We're trying, when we roll back, so it is quite helpful, I think, to do this a few times without straightening your legs out. So rolling back, balancing on the middle of your back. And then maybe lengthening your legs out. Yes, if you end up falling or collapsing back, that's fine. We will all do that in a moment. So the idea is we're rolling back, we're looking at our belly. At a certain point, we pick our feet up, but we try to balance on the middle of our back. So lengthen the legs out. Okay, we'll do one more and then I will let you collapse down. So, and I say the middle of the back, I suppose it's just, if we go all the way down, then it's quite difficult to have our shoulders and our heels at the same height. So one more time. We roll down, we're trying to balance at this point on the sort of back of the waist, I suppose. Oh. And then, yes. And then collapsing down onto the floor. Well done. And just, yes, do whatever you feel drawn to do right now, which might just be lying. Yeah, I can see various people doing various things. So yeah, for a minute or two, just do whatever your body feels it would like to do. Maybe you could let your head roll from side to side. So lying on your back, letting your head roll to the right and to the left. That's nice. And from rolling your head from side to side, let your head come to settle, the center of the back of your head settling on the floor. Letting a breath come in, letting a breath leave you. Maybe bring your hands onto the front of your body to feel the movement of your breath in your body. So in that last one, our favourite boat pose, our abdominals are working really hard. And in here it's nice, we can let the belly be soft and relaxed and responsive to the breathing. If your legs are long, you could bend your knees now and stand your feet on the floor. Take a moment to feel that contact of your footprints on the floor. And come to tilting your knees to the right and to the left. Lovely. And from tilting your knees to the right and to the left, then settle your feet down, settle your knees down. So keep your knees bent. And feet standing on the floor, because from here we're going to move up and down into bridge pose, so 2 or 3 times. So feet standing on the floor, feet a generous hip width apart. Your feet maybe need to be a bit closer into you, Rashmi, I think. Closer into your bottom, that's it, yeah. So you're going to be sinking down into your footprints and just seeing how does it feel to let your pelvis and some of your spine come away from the floor. And you don't need to go very far in your bridge pose. It's probably good to have your arms on the floor beside you now. And just 2 or 3 times rolling up and down and seeing how it feels. How does it feel as you sink into your feet and let the pelvis come up and some of the spine? And how does it feel to place your spine back down, vertebrae by vertebrae? So make this your last bridge pose and just settle your pelvis back onto the floor. Keep your right knee bent and your right foot standing on the floor, and lengthen your left leg out. So we're going to come to that pressing movement. Then I think you know this one, where we press into the right foot and the pelvis lifts on the right side and tilts over to the left. So the left leg is long, the right knee is bent. We're pressing into the right foot and letting the pelvis tilt over towards the left. So the pelvis lifts on the right side, but not on the left. We repeat this a few times. So the idea in this one, there's everything in our body, apart from that pressing foot, everything else is sort of passive and quiet. We stay heavy through the left side of the body. And then you're going to do the variation. So just let your pelvis come back on the floor. Keep that right knee bent, keep the left leg long. And then give yourself a hug with your right arm on top. So now, as you press into your right foot, you're also going to roll across your upper back. That's it. So you roll towards the back of your left shoulder. That's it, Rashmi. And your right fingertips reach out on the floor on the left. So now you're rolling, you're rolling the whole of the right side of your back, the back of the pelvis, the right shoulder, all come away from the floor. That's it. Keep that, maybe keep that arm sort of down. That's it, Lynn, just until the fingers, if you keep yourself hugging, and then once your fingers touch the floor, then you can slide them out on the floor. That makes sense. So your right arm's on top, that's it. As you go over that way, then reach your fingers out on the floor as the fingers touch the floor, that's it. And then as you rock back onto that's it. Just let your arms hug yourself, that's it, good, good. Just pay attention to what your right knee is doing, because you want your right knee to keep moving forwards over your right footprint rather than go all the way over to the left. And I can't see all of your right knees, but just think about the knee moving forwards rather than over to the left. It might go to the left a little bit, but not massively. And so this should feel like you're giving yourself a nice massage. If it's feeling effortful, then do a little bit less. You don't need to make that reaching through your arm too much of a stretch at all. It's more the fingertips just sort of trail along the floor away from you. That's it, it can really be very soft. Maybe just uncross your arms, lengthen your leg out, and just lie long for a moment before we do the other side. So just let your body settle. Of course, if you don't like both legs long, you can bend both knees, but just let your body settle let a couple of cycles of breath come in, let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Rashmi, let your have both your heels on the ground. That's it. Good. Okay, and then you can organise yourself so you've got your left knee bent, your right leg long. To start with, just have your arms on the floor beside you. We'll do the hug in a moment. So just come into the movement of pressing into your left foot, letting the left side of the pelvis lift, letting the pelvis tilt towards the right. So the pelvis stays heavy on its right side. The right leg maybe rolls a bit on the floor, but it doesn't lift. You might like to coordinate the movement of pressing into your left foot with your exhalation. And then whenever you're ready, you can give yourself a hug with your left arm on top now. That's it, left arm on top. So as you exhale, you press into your left foot, you roll across your upper back. So the left shoulder comes off the floor, that's it. And then you can slide your left fingertips on the floor over towards the right. Oh, Rashmi, keep your other arm hugging yourself though. Yeah, so you keep hugging yourself with your right arm. It's just your left fingertips that reach out on the floor. That's it, yeah. Good. And remember, we're trying to stay very steady in the left foot. We're trying to make this movement easy, effortless, soft. Something that feels nourishing for us. Do this a couple more times, or once or twice more. And then yes, you can uncross your arms, you can lengthen both legs out or bend both knees and just have a couple of quiet breaths. And then finally, just bending both knees, standing both feet on the floor, coming back to revisiting bridge pose. Just a couple of times and seeing how that feels. And not pushing it, just keeping it easy, keeping it comfortable in your body. So then maybe carrying on with that notion of giving ourselves a massage, of looking after ourselves. So how does it feel as your spine? You pick up your pelvis and some of your spine, and as you place your spine back down, can you really see, particularly around the lower back, can we place the vertebrae down one by one? Can we create a bit of space, a bit of length, a bit of softness? When you've done a couple of bridge poses, you can fold your knees into your chest. Just, yeah, whatever feels good. You could just hug around your knees and breathe. You could rock. Yes, and absolutely. The other thing you can do here is take your arms and legs up to the ceiling and give them a shake out, if you like. And just while you're lying and rocking or breathing or shaking your legs, just have a little think, because we're going to come over and we're just going to do a little bit of sitting and breathing and a mudra. So just think about how you could be comfortable sitting. So you might want to have your back against a wall or sofa or a bed, depending what room you're in. And you might like to sit on a cushion, or just sort of think about how you could be comfortable in sitting. And so, as you'll know, when we're sitting for breathing in yoga, we're trying to sit with our spine upright, but as effortlessly as possible. So, yeah, and that usually, so that's why it's good to make use of a wall or a sofa. Yes, that looks very nice, Rashmi. If you are sitting against a sofa or a wall, make sure the back of your pelvis is right up. So you want to feel that here is right up against. If you're sitting against a sofa and there's a gap, obviously it's not going to be right up against it, but just feel that you're right up against that surface. And sofas are really good because or beds are good because you can't have that temptation of leaning your head back against the wall. If you're sitting at the wall, then you need to just try and keep your head on top of your spine. Do a little bit of rocking or swaying, or whatever you like. Okay. So you can't see my hands, I might move back a little bit. We're going to be, in all of the breathing we're doing now, and the mudra, obviously we're using our hands, we're going to be using our hands to help us to start with focus on our breathing. I tilt this down a little bit. You don't really need to be able to see me. So very, very simply to start with, we're just going to be moving our hands as we breathe. So settling down, and as you breathe in, you're going to have your palms turned up. And as you exhale, you're going to turn your palms down. So just use that very simple movement to help you connect with your breathing. So breathing in, palms up. Exhaling, turning your palms down. And so closing your eyes and just carrying on with that in your own time. So as you feel your breath come in, you turn your palms up. As you feel your breath leave you, you turn your palms down. Let's do this for 2 more cycles of breath, and I'd like you to then finish with your palms turning down. And just letting yourself have a couple of quiet breaths with your palms down on your thighs. Whenever you're ready, there's no rush. You can feel the weight and the warmth of your hands on your thighs. And so then what I'd like you to do is to have your left hand palm down and turn your right hand so the palm is facing up. And what we're going to do now is another movement. We're going to be touching the thumb and a finger together as we breathe in and out. So what you're going to do first of all is touch your thumb. This is in your right hand. Touch your thumb and your little finger. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then touch your thumb and your ring finger. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then your thumb and your middle finger. Letting a breath come in, letting a breath leave you. And then the thumb and the index finger. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. And then in your own time, go back down through the fingers one by one till you end up with the little finger. So you have a full cycle of breath, an in breath and an out breath, touching onto each of those fingers. So back to the middle finger, then the ring finger, then the little finger. When you finish, turn that hand palms down onto your thigh. Let your shoulders drop, let your breath come in, let your breath leave you. And then we're going to do the same thing on the left hand. So turn the left hand palm up and then touching the thumb and the little finger, letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. And onto the thumb and the ring finger, full cycle of breath, and in breath and exhalation. And then the thumb and the middle finger. The thumb and the index finger. And then going back through the fingers again to end up with the little finger. So back to the middle finger. Back to the ring finger. Back to the little finger. Then release your hand and turn both hands palms up on your thighs. Just for the last couple of breaths in sitting, we're going to come into a mudra. So this mudra, you bring your thumb across your palm towards the base of your ring finger or your thumb, and then you wrap your four fingers around your thumb. So you make a little fist. And then turn your hands palms down on your thighs. So you've got your four fingers wrapped around your thumb. Let your elbows bend and soften. That's it. Rest your hands in a soft and relaxed way. And see how it feels to settle for just a few cycles of breathing with your hands in this position. This is Tis Mudra. The thumbs encircled by the four fingers. Letting your shoulders drop. Feeling your breath coming in, feeling your breath leaving you.
And then I think it might be, you can carry on sitting if you like, but it might be nice just for a couple of minutes to lie down on your mats, because I'm sure none of us lie down much during the day. Certainly not as much as we'd like to. So lie down onto your backs, and it's quite warm today, but if you feel at all chilly, then do pop on a top or a blanket. That's it. So lie down onto your backs and just let your body feel supported by the ground. And lying however you're most comfortable. Just lying quietly, letting the breath flow in, letting the breath flow out. So in a moment, I'm going to ring the singing bowl 3 times. So just carry on lying if you can and if you like until we reach the silence at the end of the 3rd sound. So you are most welcome to carry on lying down. Make the most of it. I'm going to unmute you if I can. Some of you might have to unmute yourselves. So you don't have to unmute yourselves. You. Oh, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kara.
Thank you, Kara. Thanks very much.
Oh, thank you. Oh, everyone, stay well.
Bye.
Have a good week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Lynn, could you hear me okay?
Yes, when you unmuted people, that was a lot better for some reason.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it does seem to make a difference, which is why I tend to mute everyone now. So I mean, it's nice to be able to chat, but I think it's sound and stuff like that.
Oh, that was great. Thank you so much.
So good to have you in class. It was lovely.
I'm just wondering where Marie's disappeared to.
Marie, yes, when we lay down, she walked out of her room. So I don't know if she.
Maybe there was a door or something. Yeah.
Yeah. These things happen. You're in a different room, Siobhan. Fine.
Yeah, I'm downstairs. My husband has been growing, has not shaved since lockdown started, but he'd said on the 1st of July he would. And he wanted to use our bathroom, which is off the bedroom I'm normally in. So I said, I'll do yoga downstairs. Hey, Marie, Jeff is shaving.
So did he have a really big, how big did he have?
Yes, it was like Santa Claus. Nobody recognized him. It was huge.
Actually, it was pretty big, but one ho's got a huge beard and hair now too.
Yeah. he had said, well, I shouldn't do it till I can get my hair cut. I said, you told me the 1st of July. I'm not keen.
You're not keen on the beard, okay?
No. So.
Sorry, I had a Waitrose delivery there.
Oh yeah, I just said your door must have rung or something. So.
Could have been after 11, but he was a bit early. But anyway.
There we are.
Lovely to see you, Cara. Thanks so much.
See you, Lynn. And hopefully we'll
Bye,
get down
Lynn.
to the
Bye, Lynn. Lynn, Katrina's invited me round.
Oh, great.
Oh, this is swimming.
The swimming pool, yeah.
Our neighbour. She's got an infinity pool, so you swim in one spot. You can
Wow.
one of those ones with a wave
back.
machine.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sounds lovely. Pick your day, Marie. Pick a hot day.
I know, exactly. Cara, are you going to do
Well,
Preston
yesterday.
Park at all?
What's that, Marie?
Are you going to do Preston Park at all? You know, open air?
With open air yoga. Actually, what I'm going to do probably is at Mel's house in her garden, because possibly I need to talk to her about it. Maybe not this weekend, the weekend after. So, but you're camping, aren't you?
Well, I'm camping then. Yeah, me and Sheila will be anyway.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
She lives off Dyke Road, so it's but because I don't know about Preston Park. It's just so heaving at the moment.
Okay, yeah, no, that's true, I suppose.
Might have a lot of dogs joining in to do dog down.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. Some people are a bit self-conscious. Someone said, "Oh, I don't like putting my bottom, on show in the park."
I don't mind. Oh, well, yeah.
I'll have an enclosed garden then.
She's got an enclosed garden with side entrance, so that's what we need, is a large garden with a side entrance, really. So that's what I will probably do. But I'll let you know anyway.
Yeah,
It's
all right.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
How do I get out?